back to it. We'll send you an email with a ballot to vote for the people we're looking at. So maybe 10 people on the ballot and let you guys decide who we should be taking in. So we would send that to you with their nomination and more information about them and let you guys kind of vote privately, and we'll take that, you know, to heart, how we want to direct that, okay? So these guys put a lot of time in. How many hours do you put in? A lot, yeah. I mean, the job is about research. If you like research, you want to join us. It's a lot of digging to find things, and we get lucky sometimes that people give us a lot. This year and a good last year too, actually. I'll throw some names out there, but Sherry Hatt was terrific with information, and actually Mike delivered her father's treasure chest to me this year, so that was like finding gold. So, you know, there's stuff tucked away somewhere in closets or in garages or somewhere that we want to see it, and it does help when we consider people coming into the Hall of Fame. Okay. Okay. I was hoping to say it. Okay, full clear, sir. Thank you.
Rich always forgets to include himself in this committee, and he is actually instrumental in us completing all of this, as well as banquet, printing, online things, everything like that. And I really he's awesome. So thank you, Rich. Appreciate that. The other thing, Rich alluded to it, Chris is class of 97. Yes, Joan's 86, and I'm class of 89. So we have 3 alumni on this committee. I think that's really important too. And I'd also like to thank our families and spouses, partners, you know, for basically putting up with us and covering things at the home base while we are doing this event, as well as doing the research. Oh my gosh. So yes, so I do want to make sure that our families are thanked as well for all the time they invest in us putting this on for you guys. So thank you.
Joni. Joni didn't want to talk. Yeah, you guys are good. So I'll fill the like. There's more we're going to say later, but there's 2 more people that are important to this hall that were right in the beginning. But I'm going to speak on them later when we get to those people. Okay, so we're a little bit out of whack here. It usually goes a little bit smoother. I think tonight the speakers that are here all have people who will introduce them. We'll when it comes time for that, obviously we'll introduce those people. Just a little for those folks, because they haven't heard this part, we will introduce you to come up and speak, and you will introduce the inductee. Okay, so we're not going to say the inductee's name, but that's your job to take care of it. Okay, and pretty easy to do. We, you know, in the book we have time frames there. I think we just put those in so we have some extra to type. The first one was the greatest one ever. I think it started on a Saturday night and ended on Sunday morning, if I remember that correctly. We're off. And you know what? 167 people showed up that night, and 157 were left when we went home. So that was pretty good. It was after 11. We started at. We started around 5 o'clock, and it was after 11 when we went home. Oh my God. Boy, this is working really good. I'll talk. In the back of the book, you'll see the criteria for getting in the Hall of Fame. I really encourage you to look at that, because, you know, we are a athletic-rich town. There's no question on that. Most places I go, and I know there's a few other people in this room, one particularly will tell you, when he was in this role, you go places, and people say, man, you guys are crazy, the following you have, and your fans are great. They show up everywhere. And that's what made this easier to do this, because we knew we would have that kind of support. And then when we got connected with the Alumni Association and sharing the panels, and if you're not using it, but the panel that's on in the bar, is active, so you can touch the screen and see the Hall of Fame when you haven't been in and looked at it yet. That's pretty cool to see. You won't see the people going in yet on there, because they're not in yet. They're not in until after tonight. Hopefully they'll be on tomorrow. We'll see how I do with that. But it's a real blast. But the research part is the hard part. But getting the criteria or getting the people nominated is a real hard part. And I know if you've been to the Facebook Hall of Fame page, there is a place there you can nominate people. They'll ask you a lot of questions. If you can do the best you can, we accept that. And it's okay to say, put a question mark after, like, I think it's this. Because we search out every fact we can find. They do. And then we try to verify again before we put out the final list. So anything you can provide us for information, they would like. And now we kind of added a new thing tonight, which Joni will talk more about, which is our Beyond Award. Right? We were looking for another way to honor folks that were important to athletics here, that didn't fit in the categories we had here. So if you think of friends, and sometimes if you just give us a name, we're willing to go out and do the legwork. And I'm still today not positive where Kermit Morrison came from. But once we did the work, it was like, wow, how'd this guy get missed? How'd that whole team get missed? So every year we run into that. So please, don't think, well, that person, maybe they're not interested. We're interested in everybody. We take that look, okay? All right, so the words we were waiting for.
Yep.
Dinner is served, and I'm not into the wedding thing where let's start with table A, B, and C. I think we're ready. You'll get. It's a line. They're going to serve you out there. Everything's there. So at will. Let's eat. Don't everybody get up at once.
We live right below Jenny and Jeff. We talked to Jenna, and she started working.
Hey folks, as you're finishing up, and I guess that's it, man. We got a few people we want to thank, so just keep doing what you're doing. I think there's sort of some more food out there if you want to get to that. So our big thank yous, as always, we start with Crown Point for hosting us and always serving us a great meal. Nobody's been disappointed in the few years we've been here. So many thanks to Crown Point Country Club, Andy Badika and Kristen for her work. And today we got some help from Brody. A family thing, I guess. Tonight is maybe the first time, I think back at the very first banquet, there's a lot of things we wanted to do, but we weren't equipped to do them. And in the middle of that banquet, Coach Wyman came to me and said, he wasn't going to say anything, and he said, I got some things I want to say. And Coach Wyman spoke. It was amazing. And we're standing there going, we're not filming this. And it was the first, he still is the only person ever inductee that spoke. They got a standing ovation when he was done speaking. And if you were there, hopefully you remember that. That was just a terrific speech and always dear to our heart. But this year we had doing some work in the school trying to get more of our stuff, games online. Will Seminole with Tech Gym we developed a YouTube channel, and he's here. We're live right now, matter of fact. I think Will, right? That's right. And it'll be on that. You know, if you look up the Springfield Cosmos Athletics on YouTube, you'll be able to watch this anytime you want. We leave the stuff right there. Okay. Our other big person that's important to us and saved somebody's butt this morning. Red House Press, Dan has always been great working with us, gives us a big discount to get the work done. We had a little mistake that they made, in honesty, but at 5 o'clock this morning, he went in to print it before he went out of town, so we would have it here. So we really appreciated that. You've seen the brochures are probably, well, from day one, Jerry Farnham with State Farm has been sponsor of this, and he's still with us, so we appreciate Jerry. HB Fuels has come into the picture with us, which is very helpful. Those are big donations that put that ad in the book. And Briar Patch Farm, some more green and white people, Sue Fogg and Bob. They run the farm market down there on Saturdays and have a nice little stand, and I think they let their son Jim help out. Hope he's watching, he gets that. Then back in the book, also great sponsors are the Chaffee family. Obviously, two green and white people, I don't have to tell you that. Richie's aren't here. They had a birthday party in Bennington tonight, and for some reason found that a little more important. So we let them off the hook for tonight. No, it was a pretty special event for them. And Jeff is just Jeff. What a great guy. Class of 1989 gives nice donations towards getting all this decorated. So we appreciate, again, we'd like to see more classes step up and take part in this. All right, also, a few years back, we were putting plaques on the wall in the high school for Hall of Fame members, and I was at Middlebury College and saw this panel of the Hall of Fame was electronic. You could punch the thing and see all this stuff and see videos. So this is kind of interesting. We looked into that. A little pricey, but we connected with Gene DeQuan at the time, with the Alumni Association, and we decided let's do a panel. We have both alumni and call it an athletic, and we call it a Wall of Fame. So at Riverside, outside of the Dressel Gym, which is a great location, as you all know, and at the high school in the main lobby, we have those panels, and we have one running out there, and you can always go to the high school, well, to the school district website, go to athletics, hit the Hall of Fame, and look at that all you want, right from the comfort of your house. And we have a tracker on there. It's unbelievable how many people go to that page. I mean, thousands of people have been on that page looking at it. So it's pretty cool. And again, that's where we look for stuff. If you got pictures and stuff, we would love to have to add to that. Springfield Parks and Rec, who is where our research people spend a lot of time going through some rooms there to have greenhorns and greenhorns from the 1910s and 20s. They go way back, which are just super helpful. We learn a lot with those things. So Adam and Scott, and we use their printer to a certain degree. On top of that, our servers tonight are high school athletes, the four girls, Airly, Piper, Harper, and Haley, one freshman, two sophomores, and one junior. And we had a great job by them. So we don't have to skimp on the food, pass it on. We talked about the committee earlier. I think that's our major thank yous. Did I forget someone, Jess? Well, we're getting better. All right, so as things are getting cleaned up and before we have other people speak, there's a few things that we like to talk about every year. One of the things that we learned here, and I go back to, I didn't mention Hugh Putman earlier, who came on our second year as our historian for obvious reasons, you know Hugh. And our joke with Hugh was always, it was his job to walk through the cemeteries and see who were missing. And it'd be amazing. He would find people who were like, man, that's crazy. And do a lot of research. And Hugh was a great guy for us and dearly missed, for sure. Another true, I like to say green and white people. You people, a lot of people here were born here, went to high school here, you're real green and white people. When I hire coaches and look for help, I love getting the green and white people first. They're the most important people. And unfortunately for me, I grew up a purple and white person, and we hated the green and white, but that's in New York State, nothing to do with here, so everything's fine. Okay, it's kind of ironic, I come here and start coaching and playing against the purple Bells Falls people. Anyhow, that aside. When we started doing a lot of research, we started finding, and Hugh had discovered it first, these old greenhorns. It's remarkable some of the shape we find those. A lot of mention of the green and white tornado. Well, that's kind of crazy. What is the green and white tornado? And Hugh touched on it and started the history of how we got to be cosmopolitans and cosmos and a string. And I somehow found some free time in the summer when I was bored so I'm going to expand on that because I'm really interested in that. And we write about it in this book, and every year we talk about it because we think it is important. And a lot of we give pint glasses for our inductees to enjoy whatever they want to enjoy in there, like lemonade. And on it this year, we put the green tornado, and you see some things around mentioning that. So what I learned about the green tornado, which is kind of interesting, and some of this is opinion, and some of this is fact. There used to be a group in town called the Cosmopolitan Club. And it was pretty much a ladies' social club, and they had flower contests every year. And their favorite flower to give awards for was the Cosmo. And this is in the late 1920s, early 1930s. And we even found in an old newspaper, in 1932, they sponsored a girls' basketball team, a town team. And they called them the Cosmos. And that was our first mention of the name Cosmos. Now, I speak often of the coaching tree, which is amazing. And one of our inductees tonight definitely comes out of that coaching tree, which started with Warren Waters, who coached Kurt Dressel, who coached Bull Bursky, who coached Richie Wyman, and Richie coached one of our guys going in tonight. And we have kind of a trailer on that. We're going to have to wait and see the outcome of that one in a few years, see if he kind of falls in that tree. And he'll be speaking a little bit too. And there's a lot of coaches that come off that branch that are other places. And it's pretty amazing. And I know actually on that branch, I know our coach is going to speak about the 1980 team, certainly did his share of coaching. Other coaches in this room, for sure. I got the opinion that Kurt Dressel was kind of a man's man, and certainly developed a lot of men. And when he took over, he probably wasn't a big fan of the Cosmo name because it was on a girls' basketball team. So he didn't want to call his team Cosmos, and I think he came up with the name Tornado. And he was the first person we see using it, okay? In other areas of the state, like we looked at Brattleboro, they were actually called the organ grinders at one time. For obvious reasons, if you know Brattleboro, it's because the organs was it Willister that was made there? So, I'm gonna go on a limb here and say this, but Hartford was the midgets. It was like they, but that's a time when things were different, as we know as older folks here. And there was other names around the state that were kind of amazing to learn these names. And as things developed, newspapers for the most part gave those names. The schools weren't developed to say, we want to be this name. The schools did not create the name as much as newspaper reporters did. Okay, and I just read something the other day as we continue to work on this where somebody from Rutland Herald wrote a paragraph from back in maybe the 1950s, kind of saying to the school, we have the Tornadoes, we have the Cosmopolitans, we have the Cosmos. Who are you really? We just want to know how we're supposed to. And they had the Dresselmen. It was names that just went on and on. So from about 1937 into 1942, everything is a tornado. If you go to Old Greenhorns, which we get into often out of our school safe, where we store all that stuff, pictures of teams were identified as Green Tornado. Green and white, but I've shortened it to green, it's just easier. We have several mentions in yearbooks of the tornado teams. Old newspapers, old greenhorns, it was a green tornado. So like then we started discovering this, and people were like, hey, that's a pretty cool name, Around 1944, Cosmopolitan started being used more. It kind of coexisted. And around 40, I outlined it better in the book, but maybe 47, you saw Cosmos kind of came in. They shortened it up, and we became the Cosmos. In that time, all those names kind of lived together. So we had, when Coach Wyman went in, we found, of course, he quarterbacked the football team in 1952. We found an article where, in the same story, they referred to that team as the Tornado, the Cosmos, and the Cosmopolitans. So like, okay, those were the guys who were trying to figure out who we were, I guess. So it was pretty cool, and I wish we knew this while Coach Wyman was around. It would have been great to kind of hear his version of how that went on. So if you ever wondered how we got here, it was a span of about 15 years where the name started to grow. Now, that's a theory of mine on Kurt Dressel, but I kind of stand by it. I think he probably felt like he didn't want to be the Cosmos because it was a women's team at one time. And really, women's sports didn't come in 1968, we think, 69 in the school, really just before Title IX took hold. And a few years ago, we did a banquet just mainly on Title IX. And that's where we started seeing more of the women athletes and how it grew in Springfield. So either way, it's Cosmos. We're going to say Cosmos, but we think it's kind of cool to use the retro look of the tornado once in a while, because that is our heritage. And Kermit Morrison tonight, we're putting in, he was a green tornado. A picture in the yearbook with good old Bolberski on that team. And boy, if anybody was a tornado, it probably was Bolberski. So that's our quick story on that. It's always kind of fun to hear. And that's where we are. So, an award we've had over the past, this is our 8th year. And when we started this, it started with probably four knuckleheads at a table in North Springfield. And I don't have a slideshow tonight, I apologize. It's my fault, I can't find a plug to the TV. I tested it yesterday, it worked perfect, and I get here today, there's no plug. So it's somewhere between here and Garfield Lab. And we didn't really have the space. And we'll put a lot of this on the Facebook page and on the Hall of Fame page with the people that it applies to. But, one of our problems has been, we have 3 categories, as you see, but there's people who've done a lot, that really don't fit the contributor, and they were part of things that were important to other people. So when we developed this back in those days, and basically I'm talking about Jerry Jasinski's dinner table, while his wife was in the living room watching Wheel of Fortune. and speak of Ed and Jess, who was there, a lot went into this, and a lot of research how to even do this. Since then, 2 schools in New Hampshire have come to us to learn how to do it, and they started Hall of Fames. And a few other schools in Vermont has reached out to us. So we done it right, and we took a lot of time to do this right. And the legwork was remarkable. I guess I'll tell that story. How this starts is, I want to say about 2016, maybe 2017. I was coaching football and baseball then. I was at the recycling center, and I was throwing away some soda bottles, and Ed was there throwing out wine bottles. But he was upright, and I saw Ed, and was very friendly with Ed then. We actually coached together. I coached his son. And I said, I kind of had this idea about a Hall of Fame. How come we don't have a Hall of Fame here? With all our history, it seems crazy. And I said, that's a great idea. We should talk about that. So we kind of finished what we were doing and just left. In 2018, I was fortunate enough to fall into this job for different reasons. And I thought, I want to go back and visit that Hall of Fame thing. So Jerry Jasinski called me with an issue with track board, which was his life, that board. Kept me busy trying to find letters to put up on the board. And I said, Jerry, I kind of got this idea. What do you think of this? And Jerry said, I would love to help with that. I think that's a great idea. So I went back to Ed, said, maybe we can do this thing. And we had a couple good chats. And I said, well, we're missing one piece. We need a female piece. And we kind of ran through names and thought, well, we got a guy right here in town. It was forever Parks and Rec. And his daughter's right here. So let's grab Jess. And we have all green and white people. And that was the 4 people who got this thing off the ground. And 8 years later, we're pretty proud of what this has turned into. And the history that's in this room alone, if you think of your own history and multiply it by 100, that's a lot of great history, and that's thousands of years. So we really appreciate everybody coming together to celebrate this with us. And we got a lot more to go. I hope I have a lot more to go, but certainly Jess has a lot more to go, and the committee that we put together. And the structure works like this. The committee looks at the names, starts their homework. We meet several times. They vote. They do their thing to get it together. And once it all comes together, and then I hear more about it. And kind of put the rubber stamp on if we want a person. And there's been times where we read a bio, or we felt there wasn't enough there, and we just said, let's just wait on this person. And let's make sure we got it's what we print in this book, what we put on plaques, what we put it's the truth. And we can't fit it all. So we welcome any input there we get. And if you're interested in joining us, just let me know, or just know, and we'll scare you to death, and you may change your mind. That being said, the Beyond the Field Award is something that was designed to honor people who gave something that was important to athletics. A couple years ago, we didn't have a name for it a few years back, and we honored the Booster Club. And we said, and it was pretty much a thanks for coming thing. And then I think about 2 years after that, it may have been Title IX year, I see Kathy Ball's here. Her mom was someone that Kathy kept encouraging us and looked into her, and we honored that night, and tonight we're gonna do something. We actually, now that we have an actual name for an award, in both those cases we didn't have a name, so we're certainly gonna give Kathy a plaque in a little while for her mom. I think that's deserving that we have this. And actually, the person who came up with this title Joni, is she hiding? Joni,
Joni.
you know, you had to be here when Joni did the Larry Partridge induction. Okay, if you weren't here for that, you missed it. There wasn't a better comedian that night. And Joni, you ready? I'll get the right page. So, she's gonna take care of the resentment first awards. And then I'll say thank you to,
Hello. I don't really have any jokes tonight, other than I was voluntold to do this.
at least we can do this.
From time to time, our committee has identified those whose impact on Springfield High School athletics extends beyond competition. They may not necessarily align with the traditional Hall of Fame categories. In the past, we've given special appreciation to the Springfield Booster Club for their unwavering support of Cosmos athletics, and also Diane Green for her pre-Title IX successes in club sports. This year, the committee decided to formalize this commendation. The Beyond the Field Award celebrates those whose commitment, passion, and service have enriched the student-athlete experience and strengthened the legacy of Cosmos athletics. This year's recipients of the Beyond the Field Award are Richie Young, class of 75, and Ed Wilkins, class of 71. Ron Young is going to speak now.
Good evening. I don't like doing this, but this is my brother, and I love him, and I'm so proud of him. So I just have a really short thing to read. This Beyond the Field selection winner loved sports. Once he would walk, he would go join us guys in the yard playing wiffle ball, basketball in the barn, and football. He took a lot of lumps, but he never gave up, and he did not want any special treatment. In school, he went on to manage several Cosmos sports teams. He was an inspirational role model for Cosmo athletes, students, teachers, and community members. The comments in his yearbook, which I was surprised, I got them, so I got to look at them. Some of them I can't tell you. Were that courage, heart and guts, determination, school spirit, being inspirational, an amazing character, and enthusiasm. So it is with a lot of pride for my brother that I get to announce Richard Young as a Beyond the Field Award winner. Oh, he doesn't want me in it. I look better than him. I'm handsome. Yeah.
Richie, let me come in.
Believe it or not, this guy had a lot to do with teaching me love of sports, because I'm not going to say a lot, but I can remember when we were little, we'd go out in the yard at halftime of Sunday football games and literally bang each other around. My mother used to have a fit, "You're going to break him." And he would say, "He's already broken, what are you worried about?" And there was a few times when our yard had a bank, a few times when I got knocked over the bank, and I think, Ron, wasn't there some poison ivy down there? Thanks a lot, Ron. But, no, in seriousness, my brother and my family were tremendous support. Like I said, every weekend we were out there playing whatever the sport was, we found a way to do it. And started with a wagon, and then when I walked, we did it that way. And I have to give my brother a lot of credit. He never gave up on me. And I didn't know what I was going to do when I became an adult, but eventually I became a teacher of special needs children and loved it very much. I'm now retired, we're just tired, So, and I want to thank my chauffeur and his wife for bringing me here. And everybody that's always supported me. I'll be back again.
Okay. We do tease we tease each other a little bit with this committee, particularly the original one. And it took me a little while to find this picture of Ed, okay? So I had to think back to the 1983 yearbook. I said, how old was Ed in 1983? So the great thing about Ed is when I first came to town, I got a job coaching wrestling with Coach Schweitzer, and then I coached baseball at Richie. And my favorite Richie story there would be, he handed me a dozen baseballs and said, here, make them last. Great, what do I get tomorrow, Coach? Ed's son was on that team and actually helped me coach that year, and we got familiar with each other. It was a short time after that, before a baseball season, I was actually in the hospital with Legionnaire's disease, and Ed took that team for a couple weeks and got them off the ground for me, the JV team, and I came back and had to take over, and I didn't want Ed to leave, but he did. And so, you know, we kind of have a closeness there. I think that relationships build through athletics, as many of you know. I'm not going to read all this stuff, and I don't write anything down, actually. I just get up here and let's see what I say today. But I'll say this for Ed. Every time I've called on Ed, he has always stepped up. And I'm sure 40 years teaching?
42.
Yeah. Oh, that's 42. That's amazing. And I know he stayed, he didn't tell me this, but somebody told me Ed was supposed to be somewhere else tonight, and his wife probably would rather be there maybe. But they stayed behind so they could come to this, because Ed knows how it's important. And Ed will stay through the entire thing because he has a job that he's not losing yet at the end. And that's singing the glory of Springfield. He's led us in every banquet, and I don't see tonight any reason to be any different. Ed. So Ed and I can both talk, so I probably should have said, if you need to get some at the bar, you want to get it right now.
Those of us who were here for the first of these inductions, I will mention simply that Greg Bursky and I share the same alma mater. I will not try to outdo Greg in the speech that he gave in that first year. I want to say one thing, and I can't think of a greater honor that I've had in all the years that 42 years in education is not bad. I enjoyed every minute of it. I loved the kid part of it. I did not necessarily like the administrator part of it, but I did love the kid part of it. And I'd still be teaching today if it was just dealing with the kids. And so when Rich asked me to fill in for him that short period of time when he got sick and couldn't coach, I was delighted. I got a chance to, one of the great times of my life was working with Mike Hatt for, what was it, 15 years, something like that. Mike and I worked together, and we talked about a lot of stuff on those yellow buses, going back and forth to games, and so it was a great time. I can't think of anything that is any more important than the kind of character building that athletics accomplishes for the kids who participate. They get to try things, and most importantly, they begin to understand how important it is to be willing to fail and to keep going and to get back up and try again. Richie Young was not on the scene yet when I graduated. but I heard a lot about him. And guys like Richie that are heroes, the real heroes of athletics, the guys who meet the challenge despite having difficulties that make life really hard for them in a lot of ways. And I want to say just one more thing, and that's Pat Conroy wrote a book called The Prince of Tides. And the main character of that book was an English teacher. I kind of identify with that. And toward the end of that book, this character says to his sister tells him he could have been more than a teacher. And he said, no, I've honored the entire family of man in becoming a teacher. So Rich, you've honored the entire family of man in becoming a teacher. And you honored all of us in being part of the Cosmos tradition here in Springfield.
Where's our chair? There she is. Jess is gonna take over from here for a few minutes.
A couple minutes anyway. Thank you. So Rich actually alluded to, we actually had this award, but it wasn't really an award, so we formalized it this year. And it goes to where really before 1974, there just wasn't a lot of information about girls' athletics. And even after 1974, it's really difficult to find accurate information. I was talking with Coach Hatt, and even some of the yearbooks, entire seasons they're just not there. And so it's really hard to kind of get accurate information. And if anybody knows me, I'm a little bit of a stickler for making sure that things are accurate. I got to work with Ed Wilkins on the committee, and he and I both, it's Athletics Hall of Fame, and he backed me up on that one. And so I really am kind of a stickler for accurate information. So any feedback actually that we get from our inductees is greatly appreciated. But back to the Beyond the Field. So Diane was mentioned as being an active participant in girls' club sports, not necessarily team sports, but it really does pave the way for girls to come after her. And it's really important that we recognize her. So Kathy, we have a plaque for you. Please come on up.
I'm a Springfield graduate. I have kids that are Springfield graduates. I heard stories all the time whenever I played sports, like, oh, your mom was a great athlete. And it was probably like freshman year in high school. I went over to the Arisons' house for a birthday party in the barn, and we're playing some 21, shooting around, and this older guy comes up to us after, and he goes, hey, I got next. And I was like, okay. Like, so I don't know if I won or lost, but the guy's like, no, I'll play against you. I'm like, okay. So we play. I beat him. And he slams the ball down on the barn floor, and he goes, your mother used to do this to me all the time. It was so embarrassing. This was my one shot at redemption. His name was Andy Arison, and I was like, I don't, sorry. So it was at that moment that I was like, oh, I guess she did have game. So this is awesome. I appreciate it very much.
inductees, we didn't take the opportunity, everyone gets a t-shirt, and so the t-shirts are actually out in the bar area, so once the banquet is done, Chris will be helping you guys all get a t-shirt, the inductees and our Beyond the Field folks. There are not t-shirts in the bag. And then I think Rich is gonna talk about one other thing that the team is gonna be getting, but Rich also talked about, how important history is, and I can't stress that enough. We're here today because of what was done before us. And Kermit Morrison, unfortunately, we weren't able to connect with any of his family, but this guy, oh my gosh, just did a lot, and I do have to put the cheers on for this. So he was a 4-year letter winner in football, basketball, and baseball. He was co-captain of the football team as a senior. He earned all-state honors in 1944 and 1945. He also captained the basketball team during a remarkable 1946 season, which Springfield posted a 19-1 and advanced to the New England semifinal round. He was recognized as an all-tournament selection the same year, contributed across the athletics program as a catcher in baseball, discus and shot put thrower in track and field, and he was also a member of the ski team. So it wasn't just 3 sports that this guy did, he was all over the place. I don't know how he did all that. Once he graduated, he was a class of 46. He continued his athletic success at DePaul University and lettered in football, men's basketball, and track and field. So his induction into Springfield High School Athletics Hall of Fame honors a rare multi-sport, like 5 and 6 sports, whose leadership and competitive excellence and commitment to team success defined an outstanding high school career. Thank you, Kermit. Before Rich comes up and talks to you guys about our next inductee, it really was an honor to be, a part of the starting of all of this, working with Ed and Jerry sitting around their kitchen table, and he's serious. Like Mrs. J was out and watching Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, and Jerry was extremely passionate about track and field and making sure that his student athletes were honored. And so it's really nice that we're able to induct him. Rich, I think you're going to come up and speak about him a little bit. But it's unfortunate that Jerry's not here to be able to do this and see that we are recognizing his efforts for the decades, that he did contribute to Springfield athletics. Rich?
Just to touch on that English thing for a second, I'm not the English major, that's for sure. That's what Ed was supposed to be doing. But the athletics thing, yes, and it was put to me this way, is that you're the athletics director, you're not athletic anymore. So you're not the athletic director. So I got the S's on everything all of a sudden, that makes sense to me. To be working with so many smart people in a room, that was challenging. Because I just throw out dumb ideas and they play along and then next week do something different. No, I think we all had tasks, and I mean, we went to other schools, we did all these things. And the guy that really took his piece here was Jerry. And if there's somebody in this room who doesn't know Jerry Jasinski, well, you want to talk to somebody who does. Jerry was a piece of work at best, I would say, right? And I'll mention Christy back there because we refereed a lot of football games with him. When I first was up here, I refereed a lot of football. And I think, I can't tell you half the story. I mean, Jerry was, if there was a flag to be thrown, Jerry had a flag for it. I mean, when we were in the locker room getting ready, well, he would be tucking flags everywhere. It's like, Jerry, you don't need all those tonight, do you? What kind of game is this going to be? But one of my favorites is literally after we had the lights in at Brownfield, I was coaching then, and Jerry threw a flag on the North Country coach. And that flag literally went over the light pole. Honest to God. I still see it. I don't know if it ever came down, but he threw that thing, he was so mad at him, he threw that thing over the light pole. It may have went into the river from there. But that was Jerry. And we had to put up with the Cabasa on the long car rides, and he was a great guy to work with. I think there's stories of Jerry when he was coaching football, of hitting people in the head with bats, which, like, you got a bat. But the guys there that had been around him and knew him, he was a loving guy, but he was determined. And when we got into this, you gotta remember Jerry was a full-time professor at Keene State, and plenty to teach there, and he was always there to do more. I remember when I was coaching wrestling with Bob, it was when I first kind of met Jerry. He was I think it was a sport, he refereed it. I think he refereed tiddlywinks if they had it. I mean, he was always somewhere, and we were wrestling Keene in the high school gym, and Jerry was the official. And if you knew Swites, he's gonna hear it, wow, So Keene is really kicking our butt. If I remember right, it was 63-3. And we were doing our best, but they were out of our class. And Jerry was the referee. And the Keene coach was so mad at him. After the match, he goes over to Jerry and he says, "You're the worst official I ever seen in my life." He's like, "You just won 63-3. Jerry's the bad guy, but in fairness, he was pretty bad. And we would joke about that. And the great thing about Jerry is that you could have those conversations and have some fun with him. And there's a lot more stories, and again, talk to the people around him. Jerry himself was, I think, from Newport, New Hampshire, where he started. A great athlete there. He played on a Shrine team, and then he refereed the Shrine team game also. Quite an achievement. 50 years later, after playing in it, he was a referee in it. So kudos to him. Yeah, I mean, he was a fixture in Vermont sports. In June, every year, high school students travel to Burlington to compete in the Jerry Jasinski decathlon. That's been going on for how many years? I don't know. We'd love to have our own winner someday. And that kind of goes with our tradition of being at UVM and, about Gutterson Fieldhouse. And I don't know if people here know that. Gutterson Fieldhouse, one of our Hall of Fame members, is the reason that house exists there today. So we have two events at UVM that came from our school. Jerry had dedicated track teams. They won. I think in those days, they would take 2 to 3 buses to a track meet. The numbers were fantastic. That was our high school then, and many of you know. Sports were important, and those guys were kicking out some records. And we had a strict rule with being on the Hall of Fame committee. You cannot be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think Jerry realized that 2 years late. And he said, well, when I coach. And then when he got out, the second year he was out is when we were looking at this. He gave us stacks and stacks of information. Unfortunately, he met an untimely, passing. Pretty sad. He did so much work that when I went to his house to pick up our library of stuff that we were gathering, it was literally 3 boxes and then a whole bunch of paper stashed in a briefcase, which I needed some help picking up. He had so much information that he had gathered. He just kept working on this and putting his time into this like you wouldn't believe. So we are very grateful for what Jerry did for this. And I'm sure over the years, people have different stories, again, about Jerry, positive and negative, depending on what town you go to and what football coach you speak to, or even wrestling coach like in Keene. But Jerry brought some, entertainment to the game. And I think Jerry probably did a lot more games with Christie than with I. But he was a great guy, and he deserves, for his coaching, certainly here in Springfield, I don't know how many state championships he had in track or how many students he had that were state champs. We haven't ran those numbers, but if he was alive, I'm positive he could answer that question. He also started Pee Wee football in Springfield, which down the road paid a lot of benefits for us. If you coach football here, you saw a lot of those kids come through, and it meant a lot for that early stage of their life to learn the game. They were interesting games, as I used to go referee some, but he would say there's 2 minutes left. We didn't have a scoreboard on. It was 2 minutes, he kept the time. And then we would run a couple plays, and there'd be a minute and a half. And then we'd run maybe another play, and under a minute. And then when we'd run another play, it'd be 2 minutes left. When's this half end? I gotta go home. You know? And Jerry did that for kids. So to Jerry's credit, we're thrilled to have him in the Hall of Fame where he belongs with us. Thank you, Jerry. As you notice, that we do the folks that either passed on or not represented here by family first, and sometimes weather comes into play for people not being here. There was somebody we expected Tyler Kathan to come from last minute things. He sent me an email and he was not gonna be able to make it, and you know, it's always sad when somebody's not gonna be here. And we've had people come from California, and, I mean, all over the place to be here with us. And we really appreciate those folks. And then I thought, well, we'd like to have somebody besides us talk about an inductee that maybe knows them better or was closer to them. And it hit me that our current football coach graduated with him, played basketball with him. So when he walked in tonight, I asked him if he'd be willing to speak a little bit about Tyler, or in a persuasive way. But Todd's great. Todd's one of our guys. He's a green and white guy, and he's going to come up and say a few words about Tyler.
Good evening. This is really a recurring theme. Literally walked in, hey, you're speaking tonight. Thanks. 4 years ago, 3 days before graduation. By the way, you're the keynote. Thanks. 3 days to prepare a 10-minute speech. Instead of going off the cuff and getting too chatty, I'm going to read Tyler's citation, and then I'll share a quick story with you. So during his 2 seasons at SHS, Tyler established himself as one of the school's most accomplished athletes, scoring 1,525 career points in basketball and earning a place on the school's 1,000-point scores banner. He was a 3-time Marble Valley League All-Star, a first-team All-State selection, a member of the Vermont Dream Dozen, and helped lead the Cosmos to a Division II state semifinals. By the way, those were back-to-back. Mike was our coach at the time. Kathan also earned first-team All-State honors in soccer, highlighting his success as a multi-sport athlete. He continued his basketball career at Keene State College, 2005 to 2009, where he became one of the program's all-time greats. He was named the Little East Conference Rookie of the Year in 2006, the Co-Little East Conference Player of the Year in 2009, and a New Hampshire Division III Player of the Year in 2009, and was selected to the National Association of Basketball Coaches All Northeast District Team. He ranks 3rd all-time at Keene State in both scoring, 1,805 points, and rebounding with 939 rebounds. He was later named to the Little East Conference 25th anniversary men's basketball team. He then went on to play professionally in England with the Leicester Warriors and the Northampton Neptunes. Also played in Germany with the Iserlohn Kangaroos. Looking at the board out in the bar area, there's a team photo with all of our games from our senior year, and I have the board somewhere at home, buried in the closet. But I was looking at some of those scores and I said, 100 to 36 at home. That was a win for us. That night, we just fed Tyler. He knew he was close to his 1,000. I don't know if he knew exactly how many he needed. We just fed him. He went on. I mean, he was a one-man wrecking machine. He had 44 that night, and he hit his 1,000 in the 4th quarter. And so, of course, he hits. Starters are out. We're in the game. I believe it was, time's running out. Freshmen, underclassmen are in there. We're all on the bench cheering those guys on, and you don't want to add insult to injury and pour salt on an open wound. Time's running down. Mike's yelling, just pass the ball around. Don't turn it over. Just pass the ball around. Pass the ball around. Well, it comes back off a rotation out to the wing. Freshman launches a 3 at the buzzer. We're up 97 to 36. So hit a 3 at the buzzer to score triple digits, but Coach, I don't think you were too happy with that guy. But it was, Tyler was just an incredible friend, teammate, leader in the building. Whatever he did it the right way. So I would have loved to see him tonight. It's been a long time, but super honored to be up here and kind of spur the moment and go off the cuff a little bit. But Tyler Kathan, thank you. Just remotely to remind everybody, at this moment, we're gonna take a 5-minute intermission. So if you have to do whatever you gotta do, so 5-minute intermission.
It just came in. Yeah, okay. So I was gonna say, I wrote a little thing about
I'm always trying to close the set, get this back on the road.
seeing you. Maybe you can talk to you.
About time.
Putting it off that long.
Thank you. Wait till Jerry sees You'll get a kick out of that. That happens to all the boy, they're a strong bench, I tell you. Jacob, Hattie was drinking.
All right, everybody seems refreshed. We got our energy back, anyhow. All right, now here's where you get to hear other people besides us talk. Our favorite time of the night. I'm gonna have to go to my coaching voice here maybe, so we get reeled back in. Actually, at this year's parent meeting, we have in the auditorium where our students, our coaches and our parents come together, they go over everything they're not supposed to do, and they do. After the meeting, I had a parent come to me and say, I have anxiety after listening to you speak. And I thought she was joking, but she was serious. I said, I still got it. That's great. But it was like, really? This was just a real simple conversation that goes up and down, laying down some laws. So, but there's one badge honor you. I still going to make you a little anxious. All right, so real quick, I'm going to introduce Donnie Thomas here in a second, 1918. One thing we're doing for this team, we think is kind of important. Each member of this team, we're going to give a current baseball cap to, of this current team. We have here, because there are 3 folks with this team that are deceased, we have some black cats, and we want to share with those families too. Okay. Donnie Thomas.
Actually, would you guys all come up? Cindy, Mikey, Patty, come on up. You can actually stand up.
That's when I get to the house. She's at my house.
Wake it up! Let's go! Hey.
So thank you for having us here. I can't tell you how much of an honor it is to be in this room, right, with so many great Cosmo athletes, coaches, the young family, right? I'm glad we weren't first to go. It was great to see that. Ed Wilkins as well. Kathy, Paul, and her family, right? I mean, so many close connections. So great to be here tonight. Thank you to the committee for having our team inducted into the Hall of Fame. 1980 was a pretty special year. And when Sherry and Rich reached out to me a couple months ago saying, hey, could you help out and try to reach some people? I'm like, you might have the wrong person. My social networking is not so good. It's basically LinkedIn, right? I mean, if anybody remembered Bill Belichick talking about Insta book, that's basically me, right? I'm not Facebook, Instagram, any of that stuff. So I relied on my wife, Tammy, to reach out. And what it was great to find out is most everybody else up here is kind of old school like me. And it came down to emails, so, and phone calls. And with that was a lot of great memories, you know, and getting return calls back. Terry Belt and I go back to Midget League Baseball, and you know, our father's coaching us when we were 7, 8 years old, and we said this whole experience has just brought back a ton of great memories for all of us. I remember those Midget League days, right? Win or lose, we always went to A&W. Free root beer and bread dough every time, so it was great. Kurt, your dad coached you, right? I remember.
Yeah, he coached you for quite a few years.
Yeah. Jordan McGuire, his dad, right? I remember the All-Star games at Fells Falls, Claremont. Your dad's coaching, right?
Yeah.
So those type of memories kind of came back. Speaking of fathers coaching, right? Kurt Russian's dad was a coach for a lot of years up in North Springfield. Chaffee's, right? I'm sure you guys probably remember some of those experiences for sure. I know Kurt shared some with me. I was really close with the Russian family over the years. And
everybody's got a Ron Rushton story.
Yeah. How about the pencil story? Did anybody live through the pencil story? I know Kurt did for sure. You know, I AI'd this, and Kurt actually the only Vermont baseball player to never strike out looking. Wow. And it's, actually, I just made that up, really. but it came down to his dad coaching, because if any player actually looked at a called third strike, they'd have to come back to the dugout and write a backwards K in the scorebook. And on top of that, the next time up, they went to bat with a pencil. and Kurt actually struck out a few times swinging a pencil. But no, it was a lot of great memories again, and go way back to when we first started with baseball and how much of a passion it was for us. And then it kind of went on to Legion baseball. Right? And I take a look at all the coaches that we had, including Mike Hatt, Paul Chaffee, Craig Bursky, Larry Partridge, of course Dale Whitney, right? We had a lot of great coaches that raised our level for us to be better players. And then of course, our coach Richie Wyman. Right? And when you think about Richie, and I've talked to so many people tonight, Richie was ageless. Right? I mean, he coached a lot of our parents, and he just never seemed to age. But, you know, he was a legendary, he's a Hall of Famer, probably one of the first inductees into this Hall of Fame. He was a standout three-sport athlete here in Springfield, went on to play baseball at Springfield College, coached so many players, right? So many that are in the Hall of Fame or will be in the Hall of Fame in both baseball and basketball. He had such an impact on so many people in this community. It's incredible. And you know, I can remember the bus ride back from the championship game, which was in Windsor, Vermont. And we got off exit 7, rolling in with the police and the fire trucks and the big parade into town. The look and the smile on Richie's face was priceless. And when the conversation came about, that's the thing I remembered the most, was the excitement from Richie. So, first off, I'd like to recognize the players that weren't able to make it here tonight. And we did a lot of research with everybody, kind of network and trying to find everybody. But George McGuire, Terry Amadio, Keith Abbott, Jeff Sargent, Dave Fontaine, our managers, and Brett Gardner, and who would have known 8 years later, would have became my brother-in-law, Alex Greer. Unfortunately, Alex isn't with us anymore today. And then Jeff Wyman, right? Jeff was an all-state catcher for us, cleanup hitter. And then when I started kind of rambling on here, I talked about the dads and how special that was for so many of us. Imagine how it was for Coach Wyman and Jeff to go through that season, winning the championship together. And I meant to try to catch up with Mike earlier before, and I'm not sure, this may have been Richie's only state championship, is that right, Mike?
No.
So Jeff followed in his dad's footsteps, played baseball at Springfield College as well. Fortunately, he wasn't able to be here. Jeff lives down in Florida. We've had a lot of conversations over the past month or so, but unfortunately, he couldn't make it here. David Wells, who was our #1 ace pitcher, he's off the grid. We had so many people looking to find David Wells. It would have been great for him to be here tonight. Unfortunately, he wasn't. He also played baseball at Springfield College along with Jeff. There's a lot of pages, but it's big font. I didn't want to put on my old man reading glasses. No, that was what I was going for. Take that out. So first up, I'd like to introduce the people that did make it today, and thank you guys for being here tonight. First off, Kurt Rushton was an all-state shortstop, our leadoff hitter. Again, just I think a three-year he played for Richie at the varsity level. Just kind of did everything for our team, one of the captains. Kurt Martin, one of our top hitters. Also one of the key pitchers in our mostly it was a three-person pitcher rotation, and also played in the outfield. Bob Frawley will be speaking up next. Again, I believe, were you #3 hitter?
I believe I was, yes.
Yeah, no,
I
but
put the best hitter at #3. Just so you know, those of you who aren't baseball.
yeah. So again, Bob was our anchor in the infield, playing first base, and also an all-state player. Again, we had a lot of talented players on this team. Next up, we had Terry Ebelt. Again, him and I go way, way back, and he was the best utility player. He could play most any position, infield, outfield, you pick it, and he could play there. Next up, and represented by his sister Patty Johnson, is Kenny Johnson. Sad that Kenny couldn't be here tonight. He lives in California. He was trying hard to be here. Great teammate. Kenny and I were both in the same class. We had many practices and games together, playing football, basketball, baseball together. And there was nobody that had a higher competitive edge about him than Kenny. So, and then last, certainly not least, and if I could have, Cindy, do you want to come up, or are you going to continue videoing? You can continue videoing. So, Mike Laskovich, and sadly, as most everybody here knows, Mike passed away in 2018. He's here represented by his wife Cindy, his son Mikey, and Mike was an amazing athlete. I mean, he was a three-sport, not just a three-sport athlete, but a standout athlete. He was all-state in track and field, all-state in baseball, and he was all-American in football. When Mike knew his time was coming to an end, he convinced Cindy and his family members to have a celebration of life. When he was still here, he wanted to see teammates, coaches, and friends. And again, going back to 2018, I remember that day, and the thing that impacted me the most was Coach Wyman speaking there. And at the time, Coach must have been 84 or 85 at the time. And sharp as a tack, he recalled their semifinal game against St. Albans. And it was, I think we were down 1-0. Again, Richie, was it 2-0?
Bottom of the 7th.
Bottom of the 7th. Richie would have told the story a lot better because he was amazing at this celebration. And he was talking about Mike, and everybody knew how unbelievable an athlete he was. He's also such a smart person. Besides being a straight-A student, high honors, the whole bit, he was just super smart. And the pitcher had walked, I think, Bob, prior to put two people on base. Mike comes up to bat, and Richie calls timeout, comes out, talks to Mike, and the pitcher was a little rattled because he thought he was getting squeezed on the strike zone a little bit. Again, Richie knew the details. I remember the outcome, but Richie had the details. And he said, listen, I think he's gonna just groove one right down the middle. And if he does, let her rip. Well, Mike let her rip, and as Richie said, it ended up in the plaza. And, we ended up winning 3-2. And it was celebration. Then we went on, we beat Brattleboro in the final game over at Windsor High School. So yeah, that was a story that really sticks with me going all the way back to 2018. So Mikey, as you can see, a lot like his dad. I know he's certainly looking down with a lot of pride. I saw a picture in the Rutland Herald of Mikey pitching for MSJ last year. He's only a sophomore, by the way. Wow. And it looked exactly like Mike's form, right? Besides being an incredible outfielder, Mike was also, I think, a number 2 or 3 pitcher that year. The following year, his senior year, he was our ace pitcher. Just seeing your picture, his name, your name in the paper was amazing. I'd like to congratulate all the individual winners tonight. Big props to everybody in the Hall of Fame committee for what you guys do. I think this is amazing, right? It brings generations of Cosmos together. So thank you so much. And then again, thank you for recognizing this team, right? It was a special run. I Googled, and this is actually a true thing, actually I didn't, unlike Kurt's story. You know, Springfield's won 4 baseball state championships since 1935. And there'll be no other Division I championships right now when you look at Springfield playing Division II, Division III sports, right? So we'll be the last Division I baseball state championship. To Rich's point, regards to it, and I haven't seen it yet, but at the high school and down at Dressel, you can see the video clips with all the individual winners and the team winners. So again, thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Bob.
Say a couple words. This was an incredible team that defied odds and really won the state championship. It was an incredible ride. I echo the sentiments expressed for both Coach Wyman and for Mike Laskovich. And it was very special being a part of the team, giving Coach Wyman his first championship. And he coached for 30 years or something. And it was special to have Mike Laskovich as a teammate and a friend. And actually, I have a personal story to this. If you were living here in the 1980s, my brother was a radio station DJ, and he did the morning show on WCFR. And he called the sports games in the radio, and he called football, basketball, and baseball. And he called this game with great enthusiasm, and he was really good at it. It's very special to me that my brother, who has since passed away, called this game, and it was just, he always spoke so highly of Springfield and the people here, and calling sports here, and calling that game particularly. We always had this bond, him and I, like, I called your game, and it was wonderful. And if he was still alive, I can guarantee you he would be here today. I promise you he would be here, because he loved this town, and he loved the people here, and I miss him. But thank you all for being here to support the Springfield Hall of Fame, and thank you so much. Go Cosmos!
Tammy? Thank you. Next up is an individual that I actually got to play field hockey with, and she was, let's just say, intense as a defender on the field, but she was one of the first people to congratulate the offense if we scored a goal. And the thing with defenders is that they don't usually get a lot of props. Goalkeepers do, but defenders do not. So to introduce our next inductee is Kiki Norris, who was our goaltender for the field hockey team. Come on up, and she will go ahead and give you a little bit about Helen.
Hello, my name is Kiki Boyens, Norris. I had the great pleasure of playing sports with the next inductee, Hatt, Jagielski, since about 5 years old when we started on the Springfield swim team in the Pee Wee League. She swam for much longer than I did. I kind of gave up on swimming and she continued for 11 years. But throughout the years, we played on the Rockets basketball game in elementary school. We continued into middle school playing softball, basketball, and then into middle school and high school we continued on. Heather was my right-hand man, so to say, in field hockey. She was right in front of me, so if it got by her, it better not get by me because she never missed. She was always there for me. We've been friends since we were young, very young, and well, let's just say 50 years later, we're still friends. She earned varsity letters in field hockey, basketball, and field hockey. Her greatest impact came on the field hockey team, where she was a member of the 1986 state championship team with me. We were inducted in 2023 to the High School Athletic Hall of Fame here. In 1987, she earned the Mary Fortune Award, recognizing her positive influence on the field hockey program. Heather was selected to the Connecticut Valley League All-Select Team in Field Hockey 3 consecutive years. She was a co-captain her senior year and earned MVP honors in the 1988 Vermont versus New Hampshire Twin State Games. A defender by trade, her leadership, consistency, and composure found that her assessment far beyond the field. While on the swim team for 11 years, Heather held several state and Twin State Valley championship teams. She holds many titles and medals, but she still holds the girls' 4th overall point scoring record of 1,214.50 points for swim team. She holds that record today. Heather was active beyond athletics in high school. She participated in the varsity club, the senior steering committee, and the Students Against Drunk Driving, reflecting a well-rounded athlete where positive influence went well beyond the playing field. She went to Syracuse University, where she played defender from 1988 to 1991. There she received the Most Improved Player Award her sophomore year, and it was ranked among the program's all-time letter winner. She helped the Orange to a 17-3 overall record during the 1990 season, including a 4-1 mark in the Big East Conference, as the team allowed just 16 goals all year. She also played field hockey on the Women's Open Division Central team in the New York Empire State Games, earning a gold medal in 1990 and a silver medal in 1991. It's a great pleasure to introduce you, Heather Jagielski, this year's inductee into the Athletic Hall of Fame.
For anyone confused, no, we are not crashing our mom's induction.
No. So good evening, everyone. Surprise, Mom.
Thank you, Kiki, for being here to help honor our mom and for being such a lifelong friend to her.
And like we said, we promise we're not crashing this event.
This is my brother Matthew, and my name is Mackenzie, and we are the proud children of Miss Heather Jagielski McGreer. Before our mom comes up to accept her place in the Springfield High School Athletics Hall of Fame, we wanted to take a moment to celebrate her and tell her how proud of her we are. First, I want to acknowledge that my mom is the only female athlete being honored tonight. So let's give a round of applause to all of the female athletes, coaches.
Many of you have probably heard the phrase, if you want a village, be a villager. It comes from the idea that communities don't just exist on their own, but they're built by people who show up for one another. Being a villager means celebrating others' successes, supporting people when things are very tough, and contributing in ways that make the whole community stronger. But not everyone really understands what that means or what it takes to live that way.
Our mom is the perfect example of what it means to be a villager. She's the first to celebrate somebody else's successes, the first to give credit to others instead of herself, and the first to uplift those around her. I will never forget the night that my mom took me to buy my first and only field hockey stick. It was the night before middle school tryouts, and I was incredibly nervous, and obviously because I had some big shoes to fill. As the incredible defensive woman that she is, I also won't forget the moment that night that she demonstrated a proper hip check against me across our front lawn. I went airborne, but that is besides the point. What stuck with me most from that night was something that she told me after she showed me how to play. She said that no matter what happened during those tryouts, whether I got cut after the first day, or whether I rode the bench the whole season, or whether I was a starting player, the most important thing to remember was that I was playing with and for a team.
Our mom has taught us countless life lessons, and she continues to teach those to us every single day. But one of the most important lessons she's given us is exactly that, how to be a villager.
So here's to the village that Springfield High School continues to cultivate.
And here's to the villagers in this very room.
So without further ado, please join us in welcoming our mom and your honoree, Miss Heather Jagielski McGreer.
Okay, now it makes it very difficult. Thank you. You can stay up here. This is definitely out of my comfort zone, so I am incredibly honored to be inducted into the Springfield Hall of Fame. Seeing the names of those being honored tonight and those who have come before me is truly humbling. I'm honored to be included in such a legendary group. My love of sports started early, playing kickball, basketball, wiffle ball with other kids in my neighborhood. Hi Tina and Marcia, thanks for coming. I consider myself to be truly blessed to have grown up in a small town where everyone knew everyone, and more importantly, where everyone cared about everyone. I began, as Kiki said, swimming at a very young age under Coach Fabro, and I think a lot of people in this room actually are familiar with that. He's a Hall of Famer himself. Swimming under them and with the team, I learned what it meant to be part of a team, what it meant to win, and what it meant to lose. But most importantly, we won. And I think, you know, some of the most exciting times were when we would hit exit 7 on the bus, and the police and the fire and everyone, and we ride around the plaza and we loop the plaza again. But winning states, it became pretty common for us on the swim team, but also having the honor for field hockey and being inducted. So I saw what support from a small hometown looks like, how it feels, and learn that anything is possible when you have the people that believe in you and support in you. To the faithful townspeople who volunteered countless hours, and to the sports writers who covered our journey, who remembers like Red Forbush. Tom Haley was just inducted, I believe, last year. Thank you. This achievement was never a solo event. To my coaches, I think of Debish, previous Coach Fortune, Coach Benson, Coach Favreau, Lavoy, Thomas, Gomez, Green, just to name a few of them. Thank you. Thanks for teaching me that success isn't just about winning games, but about discipline, teamwork, character. Thank you for pushing me harder than I even thought was possible. I personally want to thank Coach Benson, who actually, she may not remember this, but she planted the seed for me playing field hockey in college, and for helping me submit play tapes to college coaching staff. Without your guidance, Coach, and support, I would have never received an invitation to try out as a walk-on at Syracuse. Being a student athlete taught me several essential skills. During my first year of college, I had limited playing time. I learned what it felt like for the first time in my life to ride the bench. And while that was new to me, it also taught me the importance of setting goals and putting the time and effort to earn the privilege to play. I learned about resilience and mental toughness. During my junior year of college, I sustained an on-field injury that resulted in a serious concussion, and I actually broke my orbital bone. As soon as I was out of the hospital, though, my college coach, she had me back on the field. And I actually thank her so much for that, because I'm not sure I ever would have gotten back on the field after sustaining that injury. So to all the field hockey players in the crowd, you can thank me for, in women's sports, now they wear face masks during the goals. I'm in that. I learned discipline, work ethic, and time management, balancing intense training hours in the gym, on the pitch, in the pool, along with competition schedules, travel, and academics. They taught me how to prioritize. Most importantly, though, I learned about teamwork and communication, working with diverse personalities to achieve a common goal. It garners lifelong friendships and lifelong skills, both of which I'm extremely grateful for. To end, I'd like to thank several individuals to help me get to where I am today. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates, who were my second family on and off the field, and some of which are still my best friends today. To those of you here tonight, my sister, on the way back, had the honor, I was a freshman, she was a senior on the field hockey team, so that was a huge privilege. But Kathy, Kiki, Jessica, Joni, you all were the ones that made me a better athlete, but more importantly, you made me a better person. This honor is as much yours as it is mine. To my family, thank you for the sacrifices that you made, and for the time that you spent teaching me, for all the cheers on the sidelines, for the hours traveling to and from upstate New York, and for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you to my neighbors in the Clark development. They had a pool, and they always let me swim that pool. I think I did probably 5,000 laps a summer. It was crazy how much I swam in that pool. Thank you to my mom, who after a full day of work, she'd come home, she'd play basketball with me, she'd throw the softball. Your selflessness and resilience have made me into the woman I am today. Thank you to my sister Holly, who spent countless hours outside with me, on field hockey drills, banging the field hockey ball against the side of the house to my mother's dismay. Don't worry, my mom made sure that she put a big board up for me to hit balls against, hopefully after the second day. So thanks for that too, Mom. And finally, thank you to the selection committee and this community. High school sports has taught me about resilience, teamwork, perseverance, and put perspective lessons I carry with me every day. Thank you for the incredible honor, and go Cosmos. And for the first time in my life, I'm the shortest person in my family. And Joey doesn't play basketball. He's a tennis player.
It's always the way.
Thank you.
I think next up we have Ben Mellish. Are you coming up? Ben, you're coming up to introduce our next inductee.
How many pages you got?
I'll try to get through this without losing my voice, but I was second row at a KISS concert last night. Not true. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out to this evening. Come out this evening to help us celebrate all the honorees and inductees. I'm honored to introduce Joe Phelan as your next inductee. As his best friend, starting playing baseball on Maple Street in Perkinsville. And for you younger people, there was a baseball field on Maple Street, just up from the infamous power dam that you guys jumped off of. So in reading Joe's bio, it talks about, class of '79 graduate, standout sport athlete, whose leadership helped define an era of Cosmos athletics. He was a 3-year varsity starter, senior co-captain with Glenn Chaffee. He was named All-Southern Vermont at linebacker and member of the '79 Vermont Shrine team. He also lettered in basketball and baseball, which he was a standout as well. Phelan this is his bio, set a standard for toughness and work ethic, but before continuing his football career at Worcester Polytech Institute, where he graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, and he also has a master's degree in business administration. He went on to work for General Electric, and you were on the MMP program, which is a manufacturing management program to develop new managers. He excelled at that as well. But as being an inductee into the WPI Athletics Hall of Fame, I'd just like to read some of the bio and some of the statistics. as a linebacker his sophomore year. This was the first winning campaign for the Engineers in 12 years. As a sophomore, Phelan had 63 tackles. During his junior year, he had a team high of 94 tackles and was an all New England honorable mention. And it was their first time they defeated Norwich University in 18 years. That team, the 81 team, was ranked #1 in scoring defense and #2 in scoring rushing offense. His then-time coach, Bob Weiss, writes, quote, Joe was one of the greatest linebackers that WPI has ever had the privilege of having, stated former head coach Bob Weiss. He was relied on game in and game out, and you could be certain that he would have more than his fair share of tackles. He was named a team co-captain his senior year, and he led the Engineers with 110 tackles. Now, I don't know how many linebackers are in this room, but I didn't play football. But I can tell you what, 110 tackles, that's a lot of hits. I'd like to quote, he went on as an honorable mention and runner-up for the New England Football Newsletter 1982 Defensive Player of the Year. A teammate wrote this about Joe in his bio. Joe was a year older than me, and I always looked up to him as a leader. Rob Henderson wrote, not because he was older, but because he led by example. His work ethic was foremost in the weight room, the library, and the practice field. His senior year, he fought off sickness quietly, yet performed at a high level. Joe is not only a champion on the gridiron, but even more so as a person and a friend. And I'd just like to say that, I'd like to reiterate what Rob said. Not only is he a heck of an athlete, but more, he's really a great, outstanding person who raised an outstanding family, put them first, and he's a great friend. And once you're a friend of Joe Phelan's, you're a friend of Joe Phelan's for life. It's not this just for a time. But more so than a great athlete, he also was a great leader. And he worked for GE for many years in other capacities. But I gotta share this if I can get, I'm not one for technology. If I can get into my phone. And so Joe sent me a little, where was I here? So he's giving me a little rundown on what to say tonight. He's giving me the straw man thing. I don't know what a straw man thing is. I guess it's something you do in industry, a chart. He said, you introduce yourself and explain our relationship. Well, all right, I did that. We played baseball. We've been best friends for 40, 50 years, 60 years. And then he says, talk about some personal things. Knowledge you have about me, and then he goes on to say, no BS, just a few words. I would be honored. You know me as well as any, have always been there, you've always been there for me. Well, man, after 50 years, I can tell a lot of stories. and then he goes on, just know, I gotta say it, Joe. Just no pumpkin rolling story. So all I'm going to say is there is a sport in Springfield, Vermont. He'll hold the record for in 1979. He was part of a 3-team crew. I'm talking sports. This isn't BS. A 3-team sport of pumpkin rolling down Elm Hill. He set the record with 2 other individuals. Well, arguably, we're not sure it's true, but we think it was 28 pumpkins. We can't quantify the pumpkins, but we can qualify it Because there was an individual that worked for the town of Springfield that had to clean them up the next day. And quote unquote, as that individual got home, said those little SOBs rolled a shitload of pumpkins down his road. And I had to clean them up. And that was my dad. The next inductee is my best friend, Joe Phelan.
Good evening, everybody. That was great, Ben. You're a real character. We have known each other since I moved here from, my family moved to Vermont in 1971 from Queens, New York. And Ben's been my best friend ever since. We were 10 years old when we met, so 56 years ago. Anyway, we'll get into it. That pumpkin roll. I didn't think he would do that. All right, I want to first thank Rich and the team for the tremendous work you do in pulling this great event together. It really is an awesome event. It's the first time that I've been a part of it, and it's very special to be here. You guys do a great job. I'm absolutely blown away. Really enjoying seeing everybody. And thank you as well to the great staff here at Crown Point. Andy Wadika and the team. They do a great job as well. So great to be back here in Springfield among this awesome group. Thank you to my friends, family, and teammates who are here to help me celebrate. This is so special to have you all here. Congrats to the other inductees. You know, a few of them I know, or knew or know, and both cases are correct. Dr. Jasinski was a great chemistry teacher for many of us. It was great to see him inducted and to be inducted with him at the same time. He was not only our chemistry teacher, he was a assistant coach on the football team. I also was on the track team for a while. He, of course, was the track coach. He would referee some of our games, and he was also a great friend. When I was a sophomore, and Jeff Crone and Vic Baskovich were captains that year, I remember going over to Doc Jock's house after the game. I don't remember the exact circumstances of why that was, but we went over there and we'd hang out after the games. And Dr. Jasinski, and sometimes I think he was even the referee at the game. We would debrief on the games. It was very interesting. So we'd see him on the field, we'd see him after. So he was chemistry teacher, coach, and a friend. Okay, Mike Hatt, another inductee tonight. Not only a great coach, but a great multi-sport athlete. We're going to learn more about all the details of your background, but congrats to you. Congrats to the 1980 state champs. You know, we graduated in '79, so we were a year ahead of you. I played ball with many of you guys. What an amazing accomplishment. You got it done. So proud to be inducted beside you. So to be included in this Springfield High School Athletics Hall of Fame, it's truly an honor and not anything that I ever expected. I'm very grateful to be a part of this esteemed group. You know, some of the names I knew that were in here: Richie, Bo, Greg, and Mary Bursky, Jeannie Chaffee I knew of. Several others I know now, you know, reading through the pamphlet and seeing who's in here. It's very special to be put into a Hall of Fame with all these great inductees. But I'm more grateful for the impact that Springfield athletics has had on my life, which has been very significant. And I want to talk a little bit about that. There's a lot of life prep and life lessons that came from my time here. When you start out in sports, all you really want to do is go out and play ball, right? You want to be with your friends, run around and have some fun. Then you get into middle school and high school, and you quickly learn that while it's fun to play, it's more fun to win. And in order to win, there's a lot of work involved. You have to be dedicated. And ball soon is no longer lighthearted, willy-nilly run around, have fun with your friends. Coaches are now pushing you harder than you've ever been pushed before. Yes, mom and dad pushed you. My mom and dad certainly pushed me. But now this is different. This is physical and mental pushing beyond what you've ever experienced. The young you hates it. You're like, oh, what have I got myself into? Can I deal with this? But with the guidance of upperclassmen, leaders, and good coaches, the mature you soon realizes that it's worth every ounce of the effort. And you learn it's the hard work and dedication which makes you better individually and as a team. And the rewards from that effort, from the rewards of that effort, you get better. You get better as a player and you get better as a team. But you're also building critically valuable skills and strength for the life ahead. And Springfield High School athletics was a great experience for me. We had great coaching leaders and terrific upperclassmen role models and teammate leaders who worked me through this growth and maturity process. This was an environment where you learned about having a goal, about putting in the work, about being a team and the value of putting all that together. And it was an experience that has served me well. It's helped me be goal-oriented and achievement-focused throughout my life. And it helped me build teams and have some success in the business world. It has given me, in addition, it has given me the confidence to battle through adversity when things get tough. So I had really some amazing times here, some great lifelong friends, and built a foundation for life. For this great gift of personal development and life prep, I'm forever grateful to the many wonderful coaches and teammates that I had here at Springfield High School. So in closing, I want to recognize a few people who have in particular made a difference to me. Andy Bulgika. Over the years, you've been like a big brother to me, big brother that I never had. The ultimate team guy. You taught me the importance and power of enthusiasm and energizing the team. Arn Lilly, Don Fitzherbert, Steve Forrest, Mike Hatt. You guys were part of the class of '78, the year ahead of me. As the class ahead of our year, you guys really led the way. You guys taught us how to work, how to be tough, and what it meant to be a football player. You know, when I went down to play football at WPI, I was telling some of the guys earlier tonight, my entry to the team there wasn't really met with much fanfare. I was a Vermont kid. The coach down there was recruiting kids from New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. You know, that was his core. He was trying to go to the more populated areas. They have more significant athletic base. Okay, here's some Vermont kid. Yeah, okay, you played on the Shrine team. Come on out. Sure, we'll take a look at you, see if you're any good. But I don't think the expectations were very high. But I feel like the experience and background that I got here at Springfield High School prepared me way more than they expected. So we didn't have at the time, you know, Coach Gagne was trying to get our program turned around, and we didn't win as many games as we thought we could, but we had a pretty solid program. I felt like when I went to college, I was very prepared, more prepared than the people down country thought that I would be when I got there. So, basically to wrap up on the class of 78 guys that I mentioned, you taught me how to work, how to be tough, and what it meant to be a football player, and I took that with me, and it really helped prepare me. In my class, Glenn McAllister and Gary Barton, you were our rocks on the line. Wasn't able to come here tonight, even though he's a very close friend. Glenn, you are here. Thank you for being here. I loved being your teammate, and I knew you'd fight to the finish. Glenn Chaffee, a leader by example, A1 class guy all the way. So proud that you were my co-captain. So proud to play all three sports with you. There's many others I could talk about, and certainly a whole long list of coaches that made a big difference in my life. But I'll leave it there. I want to thank you all for a great evening, and I'll cherish this time together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I know we said we're just gonna introduce a person that's gonna intro the person, and I got warned not to say anything about it, because this is what I do, and I'm sure my wife's watching, and she said, yeah, that's right. There's two, our final person, him and I developed a relationship that probably goes beyond imaginations for people. I think we had a great history together. We were two people that were very competitive and probably not good to cross either. We taught the kids to play sports. Early years when I was thinking about if I was gonna continue coaching or not, my wife said to me one night, Mike's not gonna win without you, and you're not gonna win without him. And that changed my thoughts on coaching, because she was accurate, and we proved that. In 2015, when I came back after a couple of rough years of football here, a whole other story. After the first game, I was about 11 o'clock at night, sitting on my couch by myself in the dark, scratching my head going, yeah, how are we gonna rebuild this thing? And my wife came downstairs and said to me, you're not coaching with Mike, you know. And those are powerful words, and for a coach to have that help at home means a lot. Matt Wright.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks everybody who came out to celebrate tonight. It's great to see so many familiar faces here and meeting a lot of new people tonight too. As we know, Springfield has an athletics history filled with special teams, special moments, but even fewer extraordinary people. And Mike Hatt is one of those people. Someone who would be on the SHS Mount Rushmore for a lot of us in this room, including myself. When I met Coach Hatt, he wasn't just the football coach. He was the athletic director, my gym teacher, and also handling some driver's ed hours after school. Needless to say, we saw a lot of him those years. Football and boys basketball had just won state championships the year before, and I'm sure both of those teams will be inducted at some point in the near future. We all know what that 2008 football team did, going undefeated, only time in school history that's been done. But I want to highlight the season after, which was 2009. And that team specifically went back to the state finals, which a lot of times might get overlooked by that 2008 team. I want to throw out a fun fact about 2009. We're the only team in the history of this high school to beat Bells Falls 2 straight weeks in the trophy game, which was one of the most anticipated high school games in recent memory that year. And then the following week in the playoffs down in BF by 10. Another fun fact about that playoff game, we were down in the first half until we had a Coach Sapek pep talk to our defense in the halftime, and we turned things around. Needless to say, in the second half, and went back to the state finals. We had almost 2,000 people at that trophy game, which was one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen at Brown Field. I want to tell a short story about that 2009 team, and it goes back to the preseason. We started 2 days in late August that year. We had finished a morning practice, and we were headed out, for the intermission before coming back in the afternoon. But we were sent home early after what was called the worst practice in 4 years by Coach Hatt that day. So we got back for the afternoon session, got back to the Dressel Gym locker room, and we were told not to change into our pads. We spent that evening session just talking about the team in general, Coach Hatt talking about his potential that he could see in us as players, and explaining, sort of that tough love approach that we needed, because I think earlier in the season, we had expectations and we needed to be brought down off that pedestal for a minute. It was never about something you could do on your own, is what he told us. More times than not, it's not the most talented team that wins a game or a championship. It's a team that's has a stronger culture and is more of a family, and that's what that team was for us. We could spend all night explaining why Coach Hatt deserves this honor as a coach, or in the athletic administration office, and none of us would disagree with that. But to me, what makes him as deserving is who he is as a person, and I think that's what sets him apart, in my opinion. Everyone's going to remember the championships and the semifinal, state final appearances. Everybody's going to remember the calm, sometimes fired up demeanor that he carried on the sideline during the game. But what I'm always going to remember is someone who has shaped how I and so many other student athletes that have come through Springfield High School navigate life, how we move through the world, how we make decisions. I'll come back to specific figures that we meet along the way. Someone who would be the first to go to war for his players, who helped us understand it was okay to fail and learn, to struggle, to be yourself, to be vulnerable. Have empathy and compassion while also be willing to sacrifice yourself for the team and not think twice about it. To be accountable and honest with yourself so you could be honest with everybody else. A championship was never the sole focus on that team, even after the year before we had gone undefeated and won that state championship. It was the ingredients necessary to get back to that point. It was family, it was personal, academic, and athletic development in that order. Giving our best regardless of the outcome, that was what made the culture so unique and the team so strong. And I can tell you from experience going through Springfield High School, college athletics, and now working in athletics, 90% of the people who I've crossed paths with don't have that effect on me, and don't have that much awareness when they're teaching students or even athletes as adults. I still use a lot of the lessons that Coach Hatt has taught me today when I'm building my own staff. I'll carry them with me. I'll teach them to my own kids one day, because these are things that made such an impact on me. I'll always list him on my list of most influential figures that I had growing up, that I can count on one hand for the most part, and that's saying something. And that, to me, means more than any trophy or ring ever could, that we did or did not win. So I'll close with this. Lightning struck twice for those of us lucky enough to attend SHS during Coach Hatt's tenure. We not only had a talented coach, which everybody knows he is and was, we had a mentor, we had a friend, we had a role model during our most formative years. And I really can't emphasize how rare that is for all of us in this room to cross somebody like that and to have been coached by them. So with that, it's an honor and a privilege to introduce to all of you tonight one of the most important and accomplished figures that SHF Athletics has ever had, Coach Mike Hatt.
Good evening, everyone. True story, I thought incorrectly that Matt had nominated me. So early, I wanted to get here early and have a chance to speak to Matt and thank him for nominating me, and that's when I found out that he hadn't. And so that's how the world works, and things happen exactly as they should be, as I couldn't have had a better introduction. And Matt, thank you for the kind words, and I don't know if I'm deserving of all that, but I certainly appreciate it. And I've known Matt for a while. Never really had a chance to talk with him. I talked to his dad a lot more over the years. Just a real good friend of Richie's, and Richie always spoke highly of his dad. And Mark, I thank you for always being there for me and my family when we needed you, and I appreciate that. And I'll share with you the notes I jotted down briefly tonight, like I'm actually going to be able to read these, and I'm not, so I don't know why I brought it up here. But as was said a couple times by people, what really makes this special for me tonight is the class itself. It's a pretty accomplished class if you look at it, and it's a class full of people that I do know, that I have worked with, that I've had, that were some of my teachers, coaches that I worked with, athletes that I coached. So that's what really makes it special, because what has been said, it is all about relationships. And I did not know Kermit. I did not know of the Green Tornadoes until tonight. Sherry, my wife, vaguely had mentioned, do you know what they call them? They used to call Green Tornadoes. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I can see why. I think Rich did a nice job explaining it, and congratulations to Kermit. He was obviously not here, but obviously a tremendous accomplished athlete. And to Richie Young, growing up, attended a lot of high school basketball games, and to me, there was always two Richies that were in the gym. There's Richie Wyman and there was Richie Young. And I can remember Richie Young just you know, the word fanatic truly fit. His heart and soul was into Springfield athletics, and I can still remember, had an opportunity to be at Richie's house a lot, and Richie Young's name often came up. And I also, when I first came over, had the opportunity to coach with Ron Young, the first football team I coached, Ron and Russ, and those were good days. And it was good to hear Ron introduce Richie. Didn't know Heather Jagielski. At the time, I was coaching at Stevens High School, but I certainly followed the exploits of the 1986 team, and congratulations on your induction. But the rest of the class I pretty much do know. Ed Wilkins, to tell you a quick story about Ed. When I first met Ed, I didn't meet him. My first awareness of Ed was this guy. I was probably in middle school, junior high, and I saw this guy running around the oval at Riverside. He had his Middlebury jersey on. He had a football, and I'm thinking, oh man, that guy thinks he's pretty good. I had no idea about Ed. I go, good guy. I'd never seen a guy in this, college swag running around Springfield. Ed was pretty proud, and to tell a quick story, Donnie Thomas and I, in our wisdom as freshman coaches, I was coaching at Stevens, and Donnie was coaching at Springfield, and Ed officiated a game. And I don't even know who won, but neither one of us was very happy with Ed. And, so in our wisdom, we penned a letter, and we both went after him, having no idea about Middlebury College. And you know, really played it up. Oh, that Middlebury man, you're such a Middlebury man, and this, you know, how much we knew, right? And about the best thing about the letter is that we signed it, that we owned it. And we sent it to Ed, and Ed, being Ed, you know, shared it with Chip Dolan, the athletic director at the time, and I got a courtesy call from Mr. Dolan, and told me, not the best move in my life. I'm sure Donnie got the same call. And at the time, again, my athletic director at Stevens was Les Green, just a tremendous man. And I'm probably pretty certain that Chip called Les, and Les was the type of guy, if he knew, you know, Chip took care of it, he wouldn't mention it to me. And I never heard anything from Les, but I'm sure Les knew about it. But the fact that Ed was so gracious, you know, understanding that he was dealing with two people that really didn't know what they were doing. It just speaks volumes about Ed, and volumes about Ed. And later, he mentioned he worked with me as a JV coach, and just a great guy, because my two kids, I had the privilege of coaching, Kyle and Cody, and they really loved Ed because he was such a buffer at times. You know, he saved me and them many times. You know, my kids got a few rides home with him, not me. And my Cody never had him as a teacher, but Kyle did, and Kyle just thinks the world of him, and just really respected Ed's intellect and compassion. And so congratulations, Ed, well deserving. Jerry Jasinski, I'd like to, you know, obviously Jerry's not here. I first experienced Jerry as a chemistry teacher, and every encounter was an experience, as everybody mentioned tonight. Jerry was authentic, he was real, as in unfriggin' real. He could be so irrational that he was surreal. He was just, Jerry was a lot of reals. And he's just so talented an individual, and if you experience Jerry, you could experience every emotion in about 10 minutes. And but look at this picture in the program, and just an endearing smile, and an endearing figure, and just a giant among the Springfield coaches. And of course, Tyler, what a great job Todd did introducing Tyler. And what Todd left out was, in fact, I'll mention it in a minute, but in 2003, we actually won our first game of the basketball season after a string of successful seasons, and then we proceeded to lose 19 in a row. And Todd was on that team, and we weren't a 1-19 team, but we probably should have won 7 or 8 games, but we just didn't for a lot of reasons. And so how do you turn a team around, winning 19 games, losing 19 games one year, and then winning, you know, 19 the following year? Is what Tyler Kathan entered the transfer portal, and he came down, he got his butt down from Ludlow, and we turned a 19-loss season into a 19-win season and a trip to Barrie. And Tyler, in his 2 years, had a lot of help, a lot of good teammates, but Tyler's teams won 39 out of 46 games. And what Todd didn't tell you in his back-to-back trips to Barrie is that we lost to Montpelier in 2008, I believe, no, 2004. And it was a really bitter game, because I think we all thought we were the better team, and we just didn't play our best. It was probably the worst performance we had of the year. And that following year, we went 19-1, and no, it was 18-2, I think, 18-2, and we made sure that we were very fortunate. We made sure we had Montpelier, the team that had beat us the previous year, on the schedule. So we go up to Montpelier, play them in their gym, as the Springfield team did this year, and we beat them, I believe, by over 20. I mean, we just really laid it on them. And as fortune could have it, Todd was going to be a collegiate football player, headed to Norwich the following year, and we made a really tough decision. He played the whole entire year with a torn ACL, believe it or not. And it came time to where he had to make a decision. He wanted to be a college football player, so in January he made the decision to have his knee taken care of. Well, then we lost about 16 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, and obviously just a physical presence along with Tyler on the front line, along with Cole Lewis. And so again, who do we face in the semifinals? We face Montpelier, and we just come up short. And by far and away, I think we were the better team throughout the year, and by the end of the year, we just didn't have our whole team. But, you know, Todd played on as noticing that Kermit played on a team that won 19 games, and I believe Todd's team that year, and Todd's team that year does have the school record for 20 wins in a season. I believe that's the case, and it's just a tremendous testament to the fact that Tyler came to Springfield winning 39 out of 46 games, and then he went to Keene State, and Keene State was really good, but then they became very, very, very good because of Tyler Kathan. And so congratulations to Tyler. Tyler spent a lot of time at the house close to my two sons, and I really got to know Tyler well. Joe Phelan, what can I say about Joe? You know, I'm looking at the table that, of people, Glenn Chaffee and Don Fitzherbert and Steve Forrest, and he mentioned those people, and those three people are Hall of Fame athletes. They're not in the Hall of Fame yet, but those people are Hall of Fame athletes. Steve Forrest along with Joe, there's no question in the last 50 years, and I must have told Steve this 3 times this evening, just the best pair of middle linebackers you ever want to see. In his heyday at 5'10", 160 pounds, there's Steve Forrest, and you knew the game was on when Steve had an open face mask, and his helmet would always come down and crease his nose. And back in those days, the officials, you know, didn't call timeout. You didn't have a med kit, and you'd have that trickle of blood coming down, just like it was NFL film Sundays. And he played the entire game with that trickle of blood. It was just incredible. And it's so good to see those guys in the audience tonight. It's good to see Andy Ledeep, your teammate, Colin Hadley, just a tremendous outfielder, pitcher. You know, you can't say enough about his baseball exploits. And I know I'm kind of going on a tangent. And you know, Richie's been mentioned a lot tonight, and I see Gary Graham over there, and I can't tell you how many times sitting at home with Richie, and just the tremendous respect and for your play, Gary, at third base. Richie always mentioned you as one of his favorite baseball players. So, getting back to Joe, I'll tell a little quick story about Joe Phelan. He probably doesn't remember this, but my senior year, I started 5 games until Jeff Dawson came back, and then I basically kind of rode the bench in basketball, and I didn't really end up playing a whole lot, and I don't think Joe and I played about the same, maybe I played a little bit more as a senior, but so my best basketball was the 15 or 20 minutes before practice, where I'd warm up with Joe, and Joe probably doesn't remember this, but I don't know why he should, but back in the day, and the reason I'm telling this story because of present day circumstances, it was 1977, 78, and the winner of the national championship that year was Marquette University. And one of their best players was Butch Lee. So 15 minutes, 20 minutes before every practice, I was Butch Lee. I certainly didn't work on my game, but I was just shooting every shot that I had seen Butch Lee and made, you know, when I watched Marquette games. And so I got to know Joe and a lot, because we spent a lot of time practicing at the same basketball hoop, never really kind of getting into the game. I was a proud member of the 151-point club in basketball. So I wasn't a very good, accomplished star in basketball. 151 points, to my credit. I'd just like to congratulate all those individual recipients, and of course the 1980 baseball team. Just a credit to those guys. Just a tremendous year. I was a sophomore in college, and I had the opportunity, because you know, getting off so early in college, to see that entire run. And I had a lot of opportunity to play with those guys as teammates in Legion. That was back in the day when basically Richie really had a strong program, and the Legion team in town was really, really strong. So I got a lot of opportunity to play with some of those guys. And well, I have to mention this, seeing Kurt Martin tonight. It happened in Legion, but I had the opportunity to coach, to catch Kurt down in Brattleboro. He threw one pitch all night, a fastball, and threw a no-hitter. And I believe under 100 pitches, and Brattleboro never hit a ball hard. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen on the pitching mound. So I just had to bring that out, because I had the fortune of catching that game. But again, you know, lifetime friends in Donnie Thomas and Kurt Rushton, and I met Bob Frawley for the first time tonight. And so congratulations to all those people. So as far as I go, for me, athletics in Springfield all started with 3 people: Larry Coughlin, which many of you guys know, Chip Dorn, and Richie Wyman. And when I got out of from Larry, as some of you guys know, you actually went down there and practiced an entire month, 5 days a week until you actually even touched the court as far as playing the game. So I understood that right off the bat that you know, you really had to get good at things. You had to practice the fundamentals. And the great thing about Larry was that the way he administered the games, and I'm sure you know this, he had no scoreboard, except you kept score. And the games lasted upon how well you played. The games could last literally 5 to 7 minutes, which was always disappointing, or they could last a half hour. It all depended upon how you well, because he stressed the importance of playing together and execution. And that's what I got out of that, is that, you know, which was said by Heather, is it's a privilege to play. You have to put time into your game. I kind of learned that right off from Larry at a young age in the Birds and Hornets, the Bees and Hornets basketball program. And I think anybody who had Chip Dolan realized that Chip had the ability to make you to work harder than you ever thought you were capable of working. And he did it in a way where you didn't resent him. Because if you played for Chip Dolan, and you can, I mean, the UCLA's, they used to call them suicides, but then you call them UCLA's, and I just call it just running your ass off for 15 minutes after practice every day, knowing that you were going to do it day before a game, day after a game. You were going to get your conditioning in, because he wasn't there to win games, so to speak. He was there to teach you what it took to take that next level, to be a performer where you could work together as a team. And it wasn't so that he was establishing a toughness, that you're physically tough. It's that mindset, establishing that grind that it takes to show up every day and be committed as a teammate to get better. And then, of course, Richie, you know, I had the benefit of having a lifetime of mentorship with Richie. And I can't tell you how smart, and we all know how smart he was, but it's just all the little things that he would teach me, you know, just, hey, set a screen this way. Do you ever think about, you know, this alignment? Or how often do you practice? You know, you shouldn't practice that much, you know, and what I really got from him was the detail of practice plan. You know, he learned from the best. He went to so many clinics, and I learned from him, and I still have practice plans when I coached at Stevens High School 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I mean, I loved what he taught me as far as learning how to practice the right way, the detail. You know, the importance of not how much you know, but getting your, you know, how much your kids know. So for those three people, I wanted to be just like them. That's who I wanted to be. Richie and Chip, they went to Springfield College, and I only applied to one school, Springfield College. I wasn't going to go anywhere else, and I had no idea what I was going to do if I did not get accepted. No clue. But so I wanted to have the impact that they had on kids in my own way. And you know, I started out at Stevens High School and just met some remarkable people there. Ralph Silva, you know, his famously coached Carlton Fisk, and I heard all the Punch Fisk stories you could want and more. It was just absolutely incredible. Les Green was a tremendous outdoorsman, ran a beautiful project challenge class, and I got to meet people through Richie's association, guys like legendary coaches like Wayne Metcalf from Lebanon. You know, Lang used to call me up every Sunday when I was working at, I mean this sincerely, every Sunday at 10 o'clock just to get me out of bed to talk about New Hampshire high school hoop. And it was just one of the coolest things that a legendary coach would do that, just because of me knowing Richie and him taking me under his swing a little bit. So then I get the opportunity of a lifetime. And a lot of you guys are familiar with the sitcom The Office. Ed Helms, you know, Andy Bernard, the Bernard dog. Well, in one of the later episodes, he mentions, he has this great statement. He goes, I wish that when you're in the middle of the, something to the effect where, I wish there was a way that when you're in the middle of the good old days, that you knew that before you left. And I think that's how it goes. And because I think I always look at my career as 3 careers. 42 years in education, like Ed. 13 of them were spent in the Claremont School District. Loved my time at Stevens High School. 14 years after I left Springfield at Brattleboro. Really a satisfying time for me. But for me, it's always going to come back to Springfield being the good old days. And you know, it was mentioned about relationships, and for me, it all started with the coaches I had the opportunity to work with when I got back to Springfield. Just legendary coaches, not at Springfield, but statewide. Some of the best coaches in their sport in the state of Vermont. guys like Gary Blodgett in the girls' soccer program. Not only was Gary accomplished, he won a national award, District 4 National Girls High School Soccer Coach of the Year. That's what we had for a girls' soccer coach. Paul Kendall. We all know the exploits of Paul, bringing a state championship, putting everything he had into that boys' soccer team, and a program that was just perennial losers, never really came close to a winning record until Paul Kendall takes over. Joy Benson and the job she did with the field hockey program, taking over from legendary coaches like Nancy Nicholson and Colleen Debish, and Heather being a product of that very proud program that produced so many good athletes. And I had an opportunity to work with Joy for 15 years as in the physical education department. I always respected the job Joy did, and especially for what she did and how she went to the extent to really make things good for her girls. And I always respected the job she did as a mother of her two sons, Alex and Jamie. Two kids that I really had a good opportunity for me having a chance to coach both those Joy's sons. And Andy Vladika, just a lifetime friend, confidant, just a good friend, and just a tremendous job he did for us in the softball program. And then the last one I have to mention, and there's so many other good coaches, is certainly Rich Sapek. Rich, you've done a great job. Jessica and Joni, has been mentioned. This Hall of Fame thing is just a fantastic thing. You've really taken it and run with it, and every year it seems like it gets better and better. And that's a credit to you, Rich, and everybody that's been mentioned here. And I want to say this about coaching. I bring Rich up because I think one of the jobs that he did really goes unnoticed in that the offensive line is a team unto itself. And in 2007, well, actually started probably in 2005. Rich was our offensive football coach, offensive line coach, and he developed a blocking scheme that after Grant White graduated and went to Kimball Union Academy, John Lyons, the former Dartmouth head coach, came over and we actually put on a couple clinics for John Lyons, Dartmouth coach, because of our offense that we were running at Springfield High School. And the one thing he really wanted to know most was Rich Sapek's blocking schemes. He didn't really want to run, the spread concepts. He had a good idea, but he was really curious about Rich's run game and his blocking schemes because, we had great athletes, and we all know what a great quarterback Grant was. And the prevailing thought was that all we did was fling the ball around to our receivers. But we ran the ball about 70% of the time. And that was a credit to Rich. And we just spread them out, and Rich had really 5 or 6 really unique blocking schemes that we used, and he got guys like Tim Wallace and Max Blake and Ben Cox and Rich Stillings and Keith Cook to commit, and they really just became one of the best units that I think Springfield really has ever seen. And just a tremendous job by you, Rich. And it truly was, as you mentioned, a partnership. And I think our kids were very fortunate because they did benefit from our partnership. And and like you mentioned, it is so true. One couldn't have done, without the other, and that's so true. And as far as the athletes that I had the opportunity to coach, just some of the best again. Not trying to use a lot of hyperbole, but just some of the best athletes that really have played in over the 100-year history of Springfield. And guys like Scott Keith in basketball and football. Chad Jackson, I challenge anybody in this room to come up with a better two-way football player than Chad Jackson. It just does not exist at Springfield High School. Obviously in football, Grant White, Keith Cook, and Rich will tell you, and people that know Keith, the most intimidating athlete I've ever seen participate at Springfield High School. And I say that because the people around him, he didn't intimidate his teammates, but it was in the age of social media, and the other kids in the surrounding areas that we played, there was a fear in them. When we played, it was palpable. You could see it, and Keith took every advantage of that. And I think, I hear a lot about Bear Bibbins. I never had the opportunity to see Bear Bibbins play, but I gotta believe that Keith Cook is certainly in that class of people. I had a chance to coach Brandon Boyle. again, you tell me a better football player, better wide receiver than Brandon Boyle. Springfield's never seen it. He became a Division III All-American, okay? So, you know, I had a chance to coach 4,000-point scorers in basketball. And just tremendous opportunities, and I'm just so grateful. And the team exploits, you know, Matt kind of mentioned some of them. You know, it took a while for us to get going. I came over from Stevens High School. I replaced Tom Lovett. Everybody loved Tom Lovett, and I certainly didn't have the grandfather image and that Tom loved. You know, had, and it took me a while. I wasn't immediately accepted by a lot of people because of that, because I ran things a little bit different right from the get-go, and it took a while to get started. But once we got going, because of the coaches that I mentioned, because of the athletes that I have, I'm looking at Chris Mara right now, and I'm really liking what, because I'm just smiling because Chris was such a great captain for us in football, and really enjoyed working with Chris, and as we know, later became a recreation director for a short time. But you know, I can't, you know, it is certainly the good old days, you know, the winning 39 out of 46 games over a 2-year period, winning 29 football games over a 4-year period, and going to state championships, having our coaches that I mentioned all bring home state championships to our school. And you know, I'm going to brag a little bit because I feel so good about all these accomplishments by all these people, because I think over the 15-year period, we probably won more league titles and state championships, you know, 5 or 6, than any period of time, and that's because of the people we had coaching our young people. You know, they all approached it, like in my mind, like Larry and Chip and Richie, from the standpoint, they presented their sport as the most positive thing they wanted their kids to participate in. And I used to have conversations with faculty members about that. And they thought, you know, I look at you, you're way out of line, you're putting athletics ahead of academics, and that's not the case. Anybody that knows me and knows my family, we place a high value on academics. But what I was saying to my faculty members was, I hope you have that same attitude. I mean, I'm sure you had that. If you're teaching English, I hope you have that attitude. I want what I'm doing to be the most positive thing these kids are going to experience. And I really feel fortunate because for a lot of our kids and athletes that I coach, and I know from the coaches that I mentioned, and a lot more coaches than I mentioned, their athletes really did benefit from what we did. And I really like the words that Joe Phelan mentioned, that, you know, participating is great, but, you know, winning, you know, to make it meaningful, you have to win your share. You don't have to win state championships. You know, you don't have to be the best, but you just have to win your share so you experience the total picture of, you know, winning and losing. And in closing, because I know I've been up here for a while, but, you know, I'm going to be forever grateful to be a part of this Springfield College. Almost college. I'm very grateful to be a part of Springfield College as well, but to be a part of the Springfield family, because life is all about relationships. People come and go into your life. As we all know, it's about changes, and I'm going to be forever grateful that I'm a part, because I'm inducted into this class. I'll be forever be remembered as part of the Springfield family. And the last thing I'm going to say tonight is that the best thing about me being associated is I got to marry the coach's daughter. And Sherry, I love you. And with that, I'll say, go Cosmos.
Before I get out of here, if you know both of us, we could give quite a few pep talks. After we won a state championship, and we were the only undefeated team ever in Springfield at 11-0 that won a championship. My wife was at the game, or the whole town was at the game, and she said to me on the field after the game, "Did you two hug?" I said, "I think so." And then this picture produced of him and I hugging. I'm like, holy shit, we did hug. Yeah. We weren't huggers. I still get that picture hanging with my office. That was a pretty important picture, because what we accomplished that year was pretty amazing. And something that will live with us, and I'm sure those kids forever. Coach Wilkins.
Yeah, you'll get you up. Jessica, come up here.
Yep, Glory to Springfield.
Everybody's got to get on the feet.
You guys have the word.
The words are in the book. You're in the book.
The words are in the book. You can't remember it.
All right, everybody ready? Hey, thanks for coming. Inductees, don't forget to get a t-shirt out in the bar area. The girls are out there to help you.